and George Mason University, my alma mater. So this should be an exciting matchup. You can see the deck list on your screen there. There's George Mason University, Wava, SUBCRIBE, and Doomy. We did see them win last week, and Wava's actually a player that we were talking about a little bit on the break. Wava has hit top 100 legend a few times. He's well known among a lot of pros. He's been around the Hearthstone competitive scene for a long time. So these guys are some pretty good favorites to move on to the playoff stage at a very high seed, I would say. And there's Laval University. Dad, I'm scared. Everlong, LOL, and Defala. So those guys, I guess Dad, I'm scared is too scared to pick a major.
Yeah, he's undeclared.
Yes, he is. And there they are on your screen.
Might just be going for the Hearthstone major.
The Hearthstone major, that's not a good major, I can assure you. Now that Hearthstone is on mobile platforms, though, you can play Hearthstone in class. Yeah. So if you want to, you can pick Hearthstone as a major, but you're probably going to fail out, and the school will not allow you to continue going there. So we don't advise it to all you college students who may be watching.
Yeah.
If Hearthstone existed when I was in school,
you would be a Hearthstone major.
I guess you could call it that. These guys' deck lists, we don't have much crossover. It's Druid Paladin Mage versus Druid Hunter Warlock. So the only crossover class we have is Druid. So a pretty diverse lineup for both of these schools.
Yeah, for some reason, we've almost never seen any lineup without Druid recently. And both here and any Conquest lineup is just such a strong and versatile class after the Darnassus Aspirin has been added in. So people consider it one of the best decks right now.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. There they are once again, the deck list for your screen as we prepare to move into game number 1. And GMU has some pretty festive lighting going on here.
I love to see this Secret Paladin.
Is that a Hearthstone pumpkin? Is he holding a Hearthstone jack-o'-lantern? Yeah. I think that's what it is. We'll clarify. Yes, it is. He's that is crazy. That is incredible.
It's almost Halloween. 2 weeks away almost. So
look at that.
They're prepping up for Halloween.
I think that's a legend card back too.
Yeah. They went in and kept Mysterious Challenger. It's such a great card. You don't see this matchup a lot, but because Zoo has kind of faded out of popularity recently. One of the reasons, I think, being the Secret Pel. So I want to say that this is extremely Secret Pel favored. So let's see how it works out. Good hand though for Laval University. They do have Imp Gang Boss, Hunter Creeper, 2 cards that are very great at killing small early minions. So they both do very well against the Argent Squire. Both do very well against Muster Battle Hero Power. So
that's a golden coin. This team over at Laval University plays a heck of a lot of Hearthstone. And or a heck of a lot of Zoo Warlock.
Probably both.
Probably both. Well,
spent all day playing Zoo.
Sea Giant's actually a fantastic card, and in this matchup even more specifically, because both of these decks tend to flood the board quite a bit.
Yeah, this is actually kind of like a dream hand for Zoo. They have the Sea Giant, and they also have Haunted Creeper and Imp Gang Boss, cards that generate a lot of numbers of minions on board. So if we see GMU pick up a Muster for Battle Scene, you can see the Sea Giant coming down as early as turn 3 or 4 possible.
Yeah. What do you think of that Haunted Creeper turn 1 instead of the Flame Imp? It messes up their turn 2 play quite a bit.
Yeah.
They're both, like, going into this turn, they'll have the same cards on board. They just utilize the coin.
I feel like you probably still play Flame Imp here over Knife Juggler. Since Knife Juggler, it's guaranteed to die. Since you're actually, it's not guaranteed to die. If you go ahead and take out the 1/1, you could play Knife Juggler here. I think that's actually pretty good. It's a little bit weak to Muster for Battle, but you can still play Game Boss after. You might not have time later to play Juggler. It's just a little bit more mana efficient. If it stays up, it has a big payoff as well.
Yeah, Muster for Battle is pretty weak in Game Boss though.
Yeah.
As you tack into the Imp Gang Boss, basically you're keeping the same amount of power on the board. Actually, you're increasing the amount of power on the board. by doing so. So
Wow, this is going to be pretty crazy. Really good secret setup for GMU since it's redemption on 2 sticky minions, but I feel like this Knife Juggler is going to set off some fireworks here. A lot of pings potential with the Haunted Creeper going down. That's 2 pings plus 1 more from Imp King Boss.
yeah.
Maybe thinking about ordering, thinking about things like Noble Sack, how that would work, thinking of things like Avenge. So secrets definitely, slow down the pace of the game. You need to kind of think about all the possibilities here, but eventually I think they're just going to attack something. Not sure if it exactly matters too much. I'd probably go for the Squire, but...
Yep. So it's just the redemption that's up?
Yeah, just 1 redemption here.
Just the redemption. And the juggle to face.
Unfortunately for Laval, I don't think there's any way they actually clear the whole board for Blessing of Kings next turn.
Yeah. Redemption going to resummon that Argent Squire at full toughness. So the oozing with value, and now they will be able to.
It's actually an interesting consecrate. You're getting so many pings here with Juggler before the consecrate. Oh, but it is almost a board clear.
Yeah.
For both sides, apparently.
Yeah.
It could even kill this last creeper from this Juggler. Actually, there's no more Juggler, is there?
No, I think there is a juggle.
Okay, yeah, there is.
Yeah. So that didn't work out too well for GMU.
Oh, Cousin Mystic. That'll actually be kind of useful. I don't know. People say Cousin's not super useful against Secret Paladin.
You steal 1 secret.
But hey, it's still not what I consider bad.
I mean, sometimes you can steal like some of the tough secrets to deal with.
Yeah.
Noble Sacrifice you can steal, which allows you to sort of ignore the secrets because Avenge doesn't get like an automatic proc. So, and with 1 secret on the board, which is going to be played now.
Yeah, we're going to see this Cousin Mystic value.
Unless they feel like Sea Giant is going to be the better play.
Okay, definitely, I can see that.
Yeah.
Case.
Sea Giant would allow them, I greet you.
Okay.
Oh, jeez, Kazan Mystic.
Yeah.
George Mason, they have just deadpan faces. They have no reaction to that whatsoever. So, pretty interesting tech thrown in there.
Yeah, I'd like to see Laval here trade off the whole board because their hand is very minion heavy, especially slow minion heavy like Dr. Boom. So they are really incentivized to keep board control, especially going to turn 6 because if you let your opponent have minions out before Mysterious Challenger, the secrets can snowball like Competitive Spirit, Avenge. They're very good in combination with the board.
Yeah.
There's also cards that we see like Blessing Kings that are also good. So I would have preferred to see them definitely trade off the whole board. There's not a lot of power evolvings in their hand, so it makes more sense to go for the harder board control still.
Yeah. Still, they have a lot of tools in their hand, a lot of big threats. Implosion could be relatively useful, maybe not so much this turn.
Yeah. It actually might be possible. It's actually definitely possible to Implosion and Sea Giant in the same turn. Because when you're attacking, the Redemption generates 1 more minion. If you roll a 4, it's actually free, pretty much, since you're reducing the Sea Giant cost by 4 as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like they only need a Implosion for 2, actually.
Well, actually, they probably need 3 because...
Okay, 3. Their minion just died, so
now
they need...
Also, there's a potential that whatever they Implosion might...
die.
But they can protect themselves against that by...
They could just Implosion the Mysterious Challenger. There's no way it would die.
Yeah, and then trade into it as... they could trade into it regardless, so that seems like the right play. And if they roll 4 now, since their creature died, they can still fit it on. Ooh, a 2, which is the only roll that doesn't allow them to play it. That is brutal.
If only they didn't attack first with their minion.
Yeah. Well, then if they rolled 4, they wouldn't be able to play it.
Oh.
But they would have been able to trade something off and still play the siege.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's a bit rough.
Yeah.
And now look at this. They can Blessing of Kings and slam face for 10. And then Laval has to find an answer or they lose.
Yeah.
And Avenge not really going to be able to do anything. That's actually 3 secrets, though.
That's one buff mini bot, I might say so myself.
and they have to Doom Guard here.
Yeah.
And if it's
Well, it depends what the secrets are. I'm not really sure. I didn't catch it all, but
one's Redemption and one is
Okay.
Avenge. I think Repentance. is
okay,
the
so
third.
it should be okay. Doomguard will allow them to at least remove the 10 power. There will still be a mini bot
Yeah,
that gets redeemed, but Avenge will not proc here.
they've been through both noble sacrifices. So there's the Repentance, Redemption, and
Even if there's no sack, they can check with a 1/1 first.
ooh, second Doom Guard discarded, but they still hold on to Boom,
Still hold on.
and they still hold on to Sea Giant. So they're still packing some big threats, and George Mason is out of cards. Another good thing about Doom Guard, though, is they empty their hand for Divine Favor. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it actually isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, they knew there's no second noble sack. Both noble sacks have been played.
Yeah, I said that, yeah. This is a little bit awkward, but I guess they're going to hedge their bets. I guess it really doesn't do anything if
Yeah.
Blessing of Kings was picked up. Well, Coghammer actually punishes that, but not really.
Actually, it
'Cause
kind of does, right?
the
It
trade
does,
might
because you
have
get
happened
it more.
anyway.
You get it
Yeah,
more
yeah.
face damage. They didn't want to trade into the
This could actually
1/1.
be almost impossible for Laval to come back from, because they're down to
Yeah.
5. They don't have a way to deal with any of the creatures on the board in full, so they need to
No.
tap for Defender Vargas.
Have to tap for something.
And
That's
board color's
not gonna
not
do
it. And
Wow,
what-
even with this start with Kezan Mystic, we could
This is
see like
ridiculous.
Druid, or we could see a Warlock having almost a dream start. Seer Pal even missed a couple of drops in the mid game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just shows how strong this
Well,
matchup is. For
it also
Seer
could have
Paladin.
been just, some sequencing errors
Yeah.
from Laval, or, even just playing that Sea Giant that turn before, or trading into the Shielded Minibot
Yeah.
earlier could have made a big difference. And you can see George Mason showing off their pumpkin, and the faces of Laval slightly disappointed with that loss.
a little bit sad.
Yeah. Especially Dad, I'm scared. He looks exceptionally scared now. And so with that, Laval falls down 0-1 in the series. And George Mason still has Mage and Druid remaining left in that deck.
Some nice classes to work with. 2 really flexible classes with this Conquest format. Just a reminder, players can change decks, but not classes. So if they have Druid and Mage, they can play any kind of Druid and any kind of Mage still, but at any point in the game. So
Yeah, at this stage, it doesn't really affect it too much, because your opponent can also switch their decks around, not their classes, but their decks. So it's hard to mind games your opponent by switching up your deck, because then your opponent might mind games you and switch up their deck. So you have to mind games the mind games if you want to go for that. So what ends up happening is most schools tend to just stick with the same deck, because it's risky to change, especially if you're more comfortable with a certain variation.
Yeah.
Maybe an exception will be Laval. They did have Zoo.
yeah, keep in mind that these are students and not professional Hearthstone players.
Yes.
So
They don't have as much time to dedicate. Wava is probably the closest that you're going to get, because he's a player that practices with a lot of pros and has hit top 100 legend a couple times. A lot of high-end players know of him or who he is because of his competing at the higher ends of legend. So
yeah, Hunter against Mage seems like a mid-range hunter, since we do see Lotheb. Matchup that's really decided a lot early game. Whoever gets to early game can probably snowball the game. There's not a lot of healing on either side. Both sides have
Yeah.
a lot of face damage and burn to finish off. So most important cards for the Tempo Mage is probably Mana Worm, definitely, and Mad Scientist. Both cards are very helpful early. Flamewaker also another really important card. Did decide to keep the Flamewaker.
yeah, the Sorcerer's Apprentice into Flamewaker Arcane Missiles is a pretty strong combination.
Yeah.
Even just Flamewaker Coin Arcane Missile is 7 missiles total, if you can pick that up on turn 3. So a decent opening hand. Mana Worm is missing, but that's not too big of a deal.
Still going ahead, pointing out the Sorcerer Apprentice. There's a lot that the Sorcerer Apprentice can do next turn if it stays up. You can make the Unstable Portal cheaper and play the Arcane Missiles in the same turn. So, this Mad Scientist is extremely threatening. Oh, perfect. You don't really want to go for arcane missiles here. If you miss, you get punished a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this blast makes it much easier. Wow, that's actually the perfect
That's perfect.
one. So you can use the 1 mana after. So
It's also one of the most valuable 4-drops.
that's true. You get the spare part
Yeah.
for your Flame Waker.
That's probably the best card that they could have gotten from
Yeah.
Unstable Portal if they wanted to play something this turn.
Yeah. It might make sense to wait,
Maybe Shredder.
because if it's Explosive Trap, you don't want to play the Yeti first.
Yeah. And they know that they're going to go into Freezing Trap with that Sorcerer's Apprentice
Yeah.
anyway.
So it doesn't matter to play Yeti first anyways there. So.
Nice sequencing.
Yeah, nice sequencing there.
Shredder.
This is so much tempo. Usually you feel really good about dropping a Freezing Trap into a 4-drop, but it's just the Tempo Mage. It's not exactly a 4-drop. It was almost cheated out in a way.
Yeah.
it was a turn 2.
Cheating!
Turn
Unstable
2.
Portal is cheating.
Turn 2 Mechanical Yeti.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. So it doesn't feel nearly as good, but
I mean, they could just... I guess leaving it up is not really the best option. Like leaving the Freezing Trap up. They could throw in their Flame Wake at the next turn if they want to preserve more power.
if they're pretty sure about this secret, I'd actually prefer not attacking. Attacking also punishes you if it's Bear Trap, since the bear can very likely threaten your Flame Waker. Another thing is, it's actually Flame Waker is a better card to return than the Yeti, because what you can do is you can cast your spells, get the value from Flame Waker, then return the Flame Waker, so you have a stronger minion to trade. So I kind of like this play of not proccing the Freezing Trap, and just keeping the Yeti on board still. GMU is taking a nice tempo lead. This matchup is very heavily decided who wins the early game, so GMU is in great shape. Not a great move for Laval here. There's no move that would necessarily deal with anything super cleanly. Looks like they decided to go for the Hunter's Mark. Not a super efficient one, but it's a good move because they kill the Flame Waker super high with the threat target, and also they develop the bow with the trap up. So getting quite a bit of synergy there still.
So this is a bit rough. GMU forced once again to not attack, and they know that their Sorcerer's Apprentice is most likely going to get dealt with, and this gives Laval sort of an opportunity to come back in this game. They do have the Knife Juggler Snake Trap combination as well, so... Or Animal Companion. Notice the board with Snake Trap. GMU will be tipped off that it is something besides Freezing Trap, as both Freezing Traps have already been used so far this game, if they attack into it the next turn, or if the secret is played this turn. So
Sorcerer Apprentice is a very forcing minion because they could have waited to get more value from their Eagle Horn bow after the trap procs, but Sorcerer Apprentice is a very scary minion to leave up. It can go crazy with things like missiles and Unstable Portal and Arcane Intellect, so they didn't want to leave up Sorcerer Apprentice.
And now George Mason is in a rough spot, because they might be falling behind a little bit. Even though Laval's a little bit lower on resources, cards that they do have a lot of value, and now the tempo is sort of in their favor with the trap.
Yeah, it shows how powerful Freezing Trap is for tempo and things like Hunter's Mark, because the combination of Freezing Trap bow and Hunter's Mark really allowed Laval to take back the board lead. And again, any time in this matchup one player gets a board lead, it's very hard for other players to come back. Once the minions stop trading, because you're ahead enough on board where they can just go face, that's when it's becoming like really rough for you, because the face damage is extremely hard to recover from in this matchup. So if you don't get punished for going face, they can just give that damage.
So just decide to go for the Asterisk. What a pickup for Laval. Savannah Hyman on turn 6.
I'm actually wondering if they're even going to play the Hyman, because
why not? They're
Shredder
protected by the Freezing Trap.
Pretty good. I guess. And either way, though, the Shredder deals almost as much damage, and I mean, this is it's good.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a world where Savannah Hyman on 6 is not good.
Yeah.
Unless you have another Savannah Hyman. You play that one.
Yeah.
Well, now just gonna try and flood the board. Hopefully they can proc the Freezing Trap next turn without too much of a downside.
Yeah, 2 small minions. An interesting thing here for Laval is they can actually just forget about killing all the small minions. They might have enough damage to push through the game. And another thing they can do is combo Snake Trap here. So they can just say, forget about the Freezing Trap. We're just going to smork you down and then play Snake Trap as well. I mean, there's too many minions now to kill individually, right? So maybe we'll just see Snake Trap and...
Snake Trap is jammed down and a little bit of smork going on.
Yeah, at least that punishes your opponent for trading Snake Trap. So, and you do have more damage on board. It's unlike that Mage would race you down.
You're a little weaker to Flame Strike in that case.
Yeah.
So they might like play the Shredder and try and make some trades, but seems like applying the pressure feels pretty good. Ooh, Shredder on the far right. Of course, it's always better to put Shredder in the middle of your creatures, especially with incentivizing on the left side of the Savannah High Main if you're going to put it on one end or the other, so that when the Hyena spawn, if you get something like a Direwolf Alpha or like a
Flame Tongue
Totem, you can get value out of it.
Wow. This is actually interesting. They prioritized this in the Freeze Trap. It makes sense because it's more important right now to get out the second mirror entity than to keep the mechanical Yeti on board. Really smart move by GMU. A little bit of an optimization there that a lot of people might not see.
Especially since they know that one of the cards sitting in the hand is that High Main.
That's probably a good reason to do it.
They saw that Joust from the King Zealot, so it gave them that bit of information. So now they're forcing Laval into a situation where they have to have another creature, or else they can't play the Savannah High Main because it's too risky.
Oh,
that's a great creature.
I was gonna say, you know, as a hunter here, as Laval, you could just slam down High Main and go face anyways, because High Mains trade with other High Mains kind of slowly since the death rattles. And since you do have the tempo lead, you could still technically just go for it.
Yeah, but we learned that from the Lion King.
Much better alternative after picking up the creeper. Perfect top deck. Now it just might be too little too late here. Too much damage from a hunter. Very hard to remove High Mains. It's one of the best cards in the game.
Yeah, Polymorph would be the best way, but Temple Mages usually don't run any copies of Polymorphs. Would be an interesting tech card to include, but looks like they are just going to go for the Archmage, Antonidas, and Arcane Missiles. Probably need to trade into this high damage, low health Savannah High Main in order to...
I wouldn't be surprised if GMU just races, exactly.
Wow.
Because they have to realize that there's no way they're trading with these High Mains anyways. Even if you kill a 6-attack High Main, it turns into 2 2/2s. You're only reducing 2 damage.
Yeah.
Go from 6 to 4. And with this Archmage, you can effectively say that hopefully this mid-range hunter doesn't have all his burn in his hand and he draws more minions like this, and we can force him to trade, because we're actually threatening lethal now with Archmage in the Fireball chain combined with these Shredders. So yeah, this is a really good move. They actually realize that they can just take the lead in the race if they're willing to take some risks, because this is the only way they can win. And just now they're forcing Laval to trade. Dr. Boom is still an amazing pickup though, because
they don't really have room for it though.
You can just trade.
If you trade into the Archmage Antonidas, you fill up your board with 5 creatures, so you only get 1 Boom Bot.
They could trade the Master Armorsmith, maybe.
Master Swordsmith?
Swordsmith.
A Master Armorsmith would be a young priestess.
Okay, it's okay. Still play though.
Yeah. And
this is probably going to be the face. Again, Shredder, Archmage is an easy minion to kill since it doesn't have death rattles, high threat target. These creepers and Shredders are too sticky. You know, since they're not really threatening lethal, it's better to just race here. Again, this is a situation, just because of all the death rattle minions, it takes too long to trade with other death rattle minions. It's just really incentivizes both players to just go face.
And with that, George Mason is going to go ahead and concede, and Laval picks up their first victory in the match, tying it up at 1 apiece. Looking a little sad, not picking up their pumpkin this time.
Pumpkin is still in the back as decoration.
Yes. But a little bit rough there. Justin all the way to the left. Apparently he's their resident funny man. Not looking so funny now.
No, he is not.
Well, decks remaining for both. George Mason still has their Mage and their Paladin remaining. Oh, sorry, Druid. They did pick up a win with their Secret Paladin. And Laval still has the Druid and Warlock that we saw earlier remaining. But they could switch it up. Could be a different Warlock.
Yeah, Warlock's an easy class to change to, especially since Hemlock is probably considered the more powerful deck than Zoo anyway, so wouldn't be surprised to see them switch to Handlock, but I don't really know if they had a reason in particular to start with Zoo in the first place, so it could just mean that they just like playing Zoo more than Handlock, so.
Could be. And, I mean, there's not really too many changes that you can make to the decks at this stage after just seeing one or two decks from your opponent, not knowing what they're going to pick next. Usually that only comes into effect later on when, like, one team's down to one deck.
Yeah,
then you might see some changes. Then you can target it with tech choices.
Yeah.
But that's also one of the reasons why Druid is strong, because there's not many tech choices you can make to specifically counter Druid. You mentioned some small ones earlier in Mage, like Flame Cannon and Arcane Blast, but those are very small, and we've already saw those cards in the Mage decks already.
And also, Druid's a class that can actually. They're pretty flexible as well, because you can see that Black Knight's a card that can add in Druid pretty easily, a second big game hunter. So Druid's a class that can add in their own tech cards pretty easily. Even something like Kazan Mystic is fairly commonly seen in Druid. So
sideboarding can affect Druids really positively. Yeah. And there's George Mason on your screen. The fourth member.
Is that cheating? Someone call a referee.
No.
Okay.
I don't think that they can put on their list that we have one member of our team whose only job is to kiss the other members.
How do you know he's not helping?
Yeah. That's Twitch chat. That's the Twitch chat player. That dog's only job is to spot lethal.
Yeah.
And he's not very good at it. All right, George Mason, Druid and Mage left. University of Laval. Mage and, Warlock and Druid for them. And looks like they're going to throw out the Zoo Warlock again, and they do match up into Mage, so that Kazan Mystic might be a keep in this opening hand. That might be a 4-keep.
Yeah, contrary to the last matchup where Secret Paladin's extremely favored against Zoo, this is a matchup. This is actually one of the reasons why Tempo Mage has become very popular recently, because Zoo has always been a deck that's in the metagame. This is actually the first time in years that Zoo is almost kind of out of the metagame, so there's one less deck to keep Tempo Mage in check, because Tempo Mage against Zoo is a very hard matchup. There's a lot of things like Arcane Missiles and Flamewaker that's kind of very hard to use against Zoo because of all the Death Rattles and Rubian Eggs, Hunter Creepers, so all these like random missile effects, they don't really do their job against Zoo very easily. It's one of the reasons why it's usually a hard matchup.
Maybe the local Quebec meta has a lot of Zoo.
Yeah.
Maybe the poutine that they're feeding everybody causes people to play Zoo.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You wouldn't be surprised.
No,
poutine can do some crazy things to your body.
Yeah, I lived in Vancouver for a little bit. Poutine was weird.
It's delicious. It's my favorite food.
Poutine is your favorite food.
It is.
Right. We're not judging here.
Whoa. What's your favorite food?
Sushi.
Sushi. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I thought you were going to say something like pizza.
No.
Pizza's my favorite food. We're not judging. You said. You could be honest with us.
I am honest right now.
Right now? Okay. Well, George Mason going to try and flip the board here. That mad scientist could come back to haunt them later on.
Yeah.
Mind control tech.
That's very good.
That could be incredible, especially with an Imp Gang boss on the board.
Interesting, because you usually want to play your stuff as Tempo for Tempo Mage. That's why the deck is called Tempo Mage. But this might be a card that you can actually consider saving in your hand. I'm not sure. Okay, they just decided to play it. It makes sense because they have such a big board lead right now that it's going to be hard for Zoo to get the 4 right now. And just the game snowballs from Tempo, right? So when you go from 3 to 4 minions, it's like since your minions are dying one by one for the trade, but since you have so many, it's like only one dies every turn, right? So you can just kind of snowball the damage and the tempo. It's kind of how this Tempo Mage works. Kind of like the decision to just go for the Tempo MC tech here.
Yeah. Now Laval has to make the decision to trade into the Mana Worm or the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and they think that, you know, the Sorcerer's Apprentice is the higher value target. Arcane Blast picked up. Not really too amazing against this board because Imp Gang Boss is, you know, doing little amounts of damage to it.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting the Mad Scientist to trade off for something here. Just to get down the secret. It's kind of going to get punished by the Kazan Mystic. Expect to see Arcane Blast on the
Imp Gang Boss makes things so awkward if you
Yeah.
don't have the 4 damage to deal with it cleanly, because if they trade 2 things into this Imp Gang Boss and leave up the 1/1s, then those could trade back for their entire board. And since they're nearly out of resources with just Arcane Blast and Dr. Boom, which isn't going to come down for 2 more turns in their hand.
Yeah,
They're
the boss
really
is one of the
suffering.
reasons why this matchup is so good for Zoo.
Yeah.
Okay, they actually decided to just leave up the Arcane Boss and kill the small threats.
Yeah. Here comes the Kazan Mystic. They do have to think if they want to, you know, give them a Rubian Egg, because that is one of the best targets that you can give.
Or you could just give them nothing and
Or you
take
can give
their
them
secret.
nothing and take their secret.
I think that's probably
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. And George Mason needs to pick up a threat. Arcane Missiles.
That's a pretty good one, actually.
Yeah, they can clear the board here if they get some good missiles. Mana Worm will be buffed up to 3 attacks, so it can trade into the Kazan Mystic, but now they have to worry about, well, we need to pick up a creature before we play Dr. Boom, or else we're just going to play it into that mirror ended.
They actually Arcane Blast first, really believing in the heart of the cards here.
Oh, geez. We'll see. They're going to sit back and hope. And 3 perfect missiles. A nice, clean
Their
clear.
Faith is rewarded.
Yeah, and they don't look too happy, actually. They actually look a little bit stressed, so. Nurubian Egg Void Terror is a pretty big swing, but they know that this Mana Worm is posing some issues, so Haunted Creeper.
I like the Haunted Creeper and Egg here.
Yeah.
You can afford to take the 7 damage, even though it doesn't feel that good. But one of the big things about Nurubian Egg in this matchup is it's very good at absorbing random shots, and also it's very good at utilizing your buffs like Defender of Argus and Power Overwhelming.
Mhm.
If you just trade in your Void Terror here immediately, like a 4/1 is really good at trading into your 4/4,
or even
whereas-
into your 3/5.
yeah, exactly. They could have mitigated this kind of trade here by just not even Void Tearing and just playing the Creeper, and then next turn using Defender of Argus for the last damage.
Yeah. Well, Zubolak doesn't utilize Flame Waker very well. Usually the only spell that they run is Power Overwhelming. So, which is not a spell that you want to use just for the 2 damage. And they will be able to trade into it pretty cleanly.
Wow, that's a pretty good top deck eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah, I mean, since there's a Creeper on board. Combos really well with Implosion, and Implosion is likely coming up here. You can kind of get a read of what's going to be drawn in the future based on cards that haven't been drawn yet and that are 2-ofs, so pretty likely that it'll come out sometime. Wow. Void Caller.
Void Caller is a pretty good pickup.
Yeah.
They don't have to. I was thinking this turn they maybe could be able to Knife Juggler, Doom Guard, and only discard what they drew. If it was something that they were okay with throwing away. But now they can play Juggler and Void Caller, and Void Caller is sort of a tempo play in itself as long as you have a demon, because it's really hard for your opponent to deal with everything.
I think Laval was thinking about playing Void Caller without playing the Juggler first. That could be because they don't want to ping the Boombot. I'm not sure. Well, it's definitely a turn that you have to think about the sequence a lot, because if the Boombot kills some of your minions, you won't even be able to trade for Dr. Boom.
Yeah.
So it might be better to just go ahead and kill Dr. Boom first before dropping the Knife Juggler and Void Caller. That way you don't risk your 4/4 or your 2/3 dying to the Boombots. Yeah, I like this. In fact, I like attacking first. That way, yeah, at least have some chance where...
Whoa.
Wow.
Goodbye, Knife Juggler.
Goodbye, Knife Juggler.
You lived a good life.
Yeah. I was going to say you have less
Oh, what a pickup from
Wow.
George Mason
I don't
right
think it could
off
be
the
any
top.
better. Either target is fine. I'd say Doom Guard is still better to hit than face, but that's a really...
Oh, wow.
Good
Tap is a bold move, but I think they have to go for it.
this is when you just YOLO it. You can't try with Ragnaros, that's just too much health to go for. It's actually a pretty big misplay to not play the Shredder in the middle, because this is a situation where it actually matters a lot. You can easily see the the Ragnaros hitting the Shredder, and then it being in the middle would have been a lot better here.
Sometimes that damage matters, yeah.
Just setting up for the double ping.
Is the game over? It does hit the Shredder. That's not a direwolf. Implosion!
Okay.
Implosion.
This is really good. Okay, so what I feel you do here is you just tap, and then you kill the 2 small minions. Now you have 7 minions on board.
7 minions.
Maybe not 7, but it's a lot of minions. Yeah. And you just leave up Rag and just race.
Yeah.
Right? I think even tap, just go full YOLO.
In fact, I mean...
Maybe kill the Mana Worm first, or... Yeah, maybe... I don't know. Oh, they are killing the Rag.
Well, there's still a full board clear.
Is Laval actually not planning on tapping this turn? Because normally you would tap before playing it, right? And I feel like with the way they're playing, they're not planning on tapping. It does make sense. Now you're not dying to Fireball.
Wow, GMU is ripping cards off the top like it's nobody's business.
Wow.
Into second Arcane Intellect.
That's some pretty good draws. You're very
into Archmage Tinnitus and a natural Fireball. Yeah. All they have to do is ping face, and the next turn they win pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, I feel like playing around Fireball like this doesn't actually make that much sense, since you're still losing a Fireball over 2 turns from the ping.
Yeah.
So there's no way you're threatening lethal fast enough anyways. Yeah. I almost feel like they might as well have just gone for it. Even as far as like leaving Rag up, because they give him a better chance. They spent 8 damage killing Rag. If Rag didn't die here last turn, and they just hit an imp after, I could see them just winning the game this turn.
Yeah, and looks like George Mason University, with that Fireball out of the Arcane Intellect, will be able to take this game a really close one.
GMU ended exactly at 8, so if this Rag did take 8 damage, it might have been lethal.
Yeah. It would have taken a creature off the board, though, so it would have been a little bit closer than it actually was. But George Mason, fist bumps all around, throwing out that Mason hat, and there are the somber faces of the University of Laval team. A little bit of a bummer. They were pretty frustrated, it seemed, at that Ragnaros top deck. But, you know.
Yeah, I definitely feel for them, because that's a matchup where they definitely should expect to win, since Zoo is one of the classic counters to Tempo Mage. Tempo Mage didn't get a whole lot post TGT, just like Zoo, so it shouldn't be that much different than before. And Zoo was the class that was keeping Tempo Mage in check before TGT came out. So
yeah. So the only deck left remaining for George Mason University is Druid. And I would think that Laval would just stick with the same deck, because Zoo does have a really favorable matchup against pretty much any type of Druid that you could possibly throw at it.
Yeah. I feel like they will be taking out the Kazan Mystic, though.
I'd say so. A 4/3 with no additional effect. You might as well be playing a Lights Champion.
Lights Champion.
Silence a Demon.
Yeah.
I guess you could play it in Zoo if you really don't want your...
You don't want to silence your own demon. That was so you go for the injured blight.
There's got to be a situation where you silence your Imp Gang boss for a positive effect.
You silence off
if you're gonna trade, but you don't want, you have a Nitro on the board, but you don't want an extra one to spawn because a Juggle might kill a Boobot and kill you.
Yeah.
There you go. Boom. Just found one. I wonder if there's ever been a situation like that in the world.
Yeah.
Anybody playing Hearthstone where someone had to silence their own Imp Gang boss to stay alive? Let's Lights Champion. Well, look at that hand from George Mason. That's quite a bit of ramp.
That's a good hand, and that's not a good hand for Zoo.
No. Well,
you
actually,
never want to play your first minion on 3 as Zoo.
Yeah.
So normally it's based on playing some smaller minions and snowballing those minions.
Yeah. And George Mason might be like, did they switch to handlock? Why would they do that? Nope. Just a bad hand. And George Mason also has Keepers, which are fantastic cards early on in the game against Zoo Warlock. So
I'm interested to see if they actually use a Innervate here, because with Innervate you can unstealth the Shade and Hero Power down the 2 the 2-1 after. If you don't use your innervate, I guess it's still fine to save your innervate because you can just trade the aspirin in. This is a matchup where I don't think it matters too much whether your aspirin's at 2-3 or 2-1, but against Implosion actually it will actually end up mattering since imps trade off against 2-1s but not 2-3s. So
Yeah.
I could also see just face and not on stealth.
Yeah, one of the ways that you can win as a druid is just to get an early board lead, put enough pressure on, and then combo out and control the state of the board.
Yeah.
Most likely an
Implosion
turn, but
probably on the shade.
Void Caller is also could be an option, but I think Implosion is just too much to pass up. It is vulnerable to swipe, but
Yeah.
at this point you're not too upset if they swipe just to clear off Implosion, because you're trading a 4 mana for 4 mana, but they killed a creature in the long run, and you're just pushing
effectively
damage.
implosioning a 4-2, not a 3-1 by implosioning the shade because it'll grow next turn into a 4-2.
Yeah.
Oh wow, going for the Darnassus Aspirin. That's interesting. This
Yeah.
play is to stop the 5-drop from coming out, since druids generally run a lot of 5s. So it's a pretty interesting play, but shade's usually a very high priority target, so
Yeah. So George Mason's options here are to innervate out the Druid of the Claw and sort of just ignore these imps. Maybe trade into 1 and then go face, or to just swipe face, push 10 damage, and clear the board.
I like swiping face and pushing 10 damage. 10 is a big number.
10 is a big number. 10's actually a really small number, but in the context of a Hearthstone game,
10 is
a large number.
Especially if you're clearing a board at the same time.
Yeah.
Like you're throwing lethal.
If you went up to a random person on the street and told them 10 is a big number,
10 is a big number in
they would
Hearthstone.
probably question your sanity as well as your state of mind. But I'll trust you on this one.
So George Mason actually has 12 damage next turn. Very close to lethal, not quite.
If they draw into a Savage Roar, 7 plus 6, 13. Nope, it wouldn't quite be it. They'd have 14 damage. Wild Growth is pretty inconsequential at this point, because they do have double 5-drop.
Yeah, at some point GMU might just decide to forego trading on board, especially against
Might charge this.
minions like this.
Oh. I might have been inclined to just charge that and put him down to 5. Then all of a sudden you draw into like 3 damage, ends the game.
Yeah.
They don't run any life gain.
This is basically a move that protects your high threat unit, the shade.
Yeah.
And you also get a +2 power on board with 2 extra health you gain from the bear form, so.
If Laval loses this, that means they lost all 3 of their games with Zoo.
Now we know why Zoo's not in the meta.
Even against its stronger matchup, it still kind of struggles.
Yeah.
They did have a rough early hand, and I think Darnassus Aspirant might have helped the matchup just slightly. Because aside from like a turn 1 Flame Imp, or like a turn 1 Void Caller into Abusive Sergeant, which actually do happen quite often, they don't have a way to deal with that.
This is a hard turn. I don't know if there's any way they can stay alive, but I feel like whatever they do, it has to involve Defender Vargas somewhat.
Yeah.
Since any other way, they definitely don't stay alive.
Yeah. It looks like they're going to Defender Vargas the Imp that comes out in combination with the Nerubian Egg, which is the way to gain the most amount of health while still clearing off the board. So, smart play. Smart heads-up play. But there are still some lethal outs here.
Especially with the
Azure Drake's
Keeper.
not one of them.
Azure Drake is not one of them. Still a little bit off from lethal.
Yeah. 2 damage off, to be exact. But they're more than happy to push this damage to face.
This is a fairly easy face decision here over any trade.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, they're 2 damage away. So any direct points of damage will win them the game. Swipe, Savage Roar, Force of Nature. They didn't take out the Kazan Mystic. Did they get the memo?
I don't think they got the memo.
No, they did not. And Well Played comes out. They just tap into death. Honorable Sudoku committed. And George Mason University, high fives all around. And they show off their pumpkin.